Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So there's been some pretty big news in Hearthstone regarding the pack system, and today I want to give you guys a rundown of that, my take on it, and why I think it's a big deal. And it is actually a pretty big deal, and again, despite the fact that it doesn't affect me personally whatsoever, like when you buy 1,000 packs, these changes are actually completely meaningless, but that's not for those people. If you're playing Hearthstone and you're buying 1,000 packs, you're committed, you don't care that much about that system. But overall, it's going to make a big impact. So what are the changes? The first change is that you will never get a legendary that you already own. So if you open a pack and it's a legendary and you own half the legendaries, you're not going to get one from that half. You're going to get a new legendary, and that's a pretty big deal. They also have another thing to boost the legendaries. It's the first 10 packs of every set moving forward, starting with the next expansion, which is probably a few months from now. The first 10 packs will guarantee have a legendary. Up to, I think it's basically like, I think you forward yourself 30 packs into the 40 pack pity timer. So you have a really high chance to get a legendary in the first few packs that you open. I imagine then the pity timer, which is 40 packs in a row, it's the maximum number of packs that you can go without getting a legendary. Basically, a lot of free-to-play players, they have like 10 to, I'd say, about 50 to 60 packs they save up for the months before the expansion is released, and any pack expansion that is. So for them to get guaranteed like 2 or 3 legendaries rather than like 1 or 2 legendaries, and for them to actually be necessarily different by the system, that is really big deal for those players. They also have a few other small safeguards against some of the lower rarity cards. Doesn't really apply to epics, but basically the new rule is you will not have a pack that has more copies of a card than are legal in a deck. So you're never going to have a pack that has 2 of the same legendary, even though it's only happened like once to me. You're never going to get a pack that has 3 of the same epic, 3 of the same rare, 3 of the same common. And, that's not all that rare, but a lot of these accounts that, rely on those first like 10 to 50 packs for being actually very good and carrying, their first few decks each expansion. For those people to get one of those packs feels really shitty, and basically this is kind of like the shitty experience opening packs floor just went up a little bit, and overall, all these changes put together make a pretty significant difference in the pack opening experience, particularly for people who don't spend either any money or just no more than like 50 or 60. I think once you go north of like 100, maybe 200, these changes don't really matter very much. But again, those players are already very committed to the game, as you'd expect. So these changes are really big. They also have another change where temporarily starting pretty soon, they said you're going to get a few bonus packs when you buy Ongoro packs, but those packs will not have these rules in place. So basically, the reason this is a big change is it obviously helps newer players. It helps the masses of Hearthstone. It's like, over here in first world country, we're doing pretty well. Extra $100. All right, let's spend it on something I like. Let's spend it on Hearthstone packs. But having like $100 on the fly if you live in like the Philippines or something, well, that is pretty unlikely. I mean, isolate that country, but you know how it works. Currencies are not quite equivalent around the world. For some countries, it's almost impossible to spend money reasonably playing Hearthstone. And these changes that help that free-to-play experience, in my opinion, vastly increase the player base and vastly increase the positivity in the more affected regions of this. And considering that they rose the price of packs and did some shitty things by increasing the number of legendaries in the game, all those things combined seem to be like they're getting negated, at the very least negated, by these changes. So really good stuff. But even more than that, it seems to me like with these changes, Hearthstone is kind of in line, not with the most generous card games out there, but it's kind of like almost middle of the road in terms of like how much money you put into the game and how much you get out of it in terms of cards and experiences and all that. Hearthstone is like almost average. It's kind of shittier than average. It's still a really expensive card game, but it was basically the worst one on the market, and it was shocking to me that they didn't make any changes. Well, here are the changes, and in my opinion, they are pretty big with the considerations that, you know, Hearthstone is the biggest card game out there right now, and they're making a lot of money, and they're a company that historically tries to squeeze out every single penny from its player base. So, with all those considerations, I think they made a really big positive move. I think they could have just tested the waters, like, oh yeah, let's make them a little bit cheaper. Let's throw in another, just a little bit. But no, they kind of pushed themselves steadily forward in a position where they actually are doing pretty well against other competing card games with the finances involved. So, yeah, I think it's a really big move, and I think we should be happy about it. Even if you're one of those players like me, you buy hundreds of packs, you're striving for a full golden deck or full golden collection, these changes are absolutely meaningless to you personally. You have to understand all of this is going to increase the player base. All of this is going to increase the community. And honestly, you know, Hearthstone is a really good game when expansions come out, but it tends to fall off after that. Overall, Hearthstone really gets carried by its community, and a change like this affects the community more than anything else in an extremely positive way. Think about it. The next expansion is going to come out. Okay, people are still going to complain about stupid shit, but they're not going to complain about the fact that they spent money on the game and they never want to do that experience again because it was so negative. You know, they are going to, more people at least, are going to spend money on the game. More people are going to save up gold. More people are going to log in and try to get as much gold in the game as possible. Again, you know, there's a lot of very positive things coming from this change. And I think, once again, we should appreciate Blizzard for making it. And, as always, hope for more in the future. All change is good change, and we'll have to see what lies for the future.